Professor. My article is about tips to improve reading comprehension. Now, firstly, what is reading comprehension? This is a skill that allows us to look at it and decipher a pile of words and to ask yourself, what is it trying to say to me? What's the meaning behind this word? Now, here are some tips to improve reading comprehension. One way is through purposeful reading. Purposeful reading is about being very clear about what you're looking for. You would want to avoid reading aimlessly. What you don't want to do is say, we have to read X, Y, and Z today. Let's start with a clear goal in mind. For example, when you assign the Luna quizzes, what I would do is look over, okay, what chapters are they covering? 10 through 20. When chapters 10 through 20, I would keep a goal in mind and saying, okay, what are the big events that are happening? Was that between Chris and Reagan? Was that between Luna and Reagan? What was that between the parents? Keeping that in back of my mind allowed me to retract the information, recall it during quizzes. Another way, both very similar, are called scanning and skimming. Scanning is reading quickly to search for specific information. For example, you're scanning a menu given by a waiter. Simply going to a restaurant, you say you want chicken tenders. You look over the menu really quickly, that's scanning, and see if they have that food available for you. Skimming is about reading quickly to gain a general idea. This is generally done when you're starting to do an assignment. Right before you start assignment, you'll skim over, see what you want. Or personally, for me, what I would do is, we could advance assignments due. I'll skim over it to see if it's a big assignment or a small assignment, so I can appropriately match how much time I'll need to put into that assignment. Another way is through analytical reading. Analytical reading is needed when you want to make sure that you fully understand what you're reading. Examples of this type of reading is when you read one or more statements multiple times. Now, a real life example would also be going to the doctors. They gave you a little spreadsheet and you read it over and over again. Okay, what are the symptoms I'm feeling? What do I most closely identify with? Now, that is an example of analytical reading. And managing vocabulary, another way of improving your comprehension. Reading new topics can be overwhelming. The subject, phrases, and words used in class may all be new. When this happens, it is important to take the time and digest these words by listing them, for example. Being a college student in a class about anatomy. Being in a class about anatomy, you're going to be brand new to things. You're about, okay, what does osteoporosis means? Be able to break down the prefix and the suffix allows you to understand these words better and build your vocabulary. Now, here's some more ways of improving reading comprehension. Information words. Information words are the words that pop out to you when you're skimming through a text. For example, in this sentence, be careful of the dangerous amounts of toxic waste in our water. The words dangerous, toxic, and waste stand out as important words when you look for in reading. Phrase reading. This skill is about phrase reading is about the ability to take in words when reading in a timely manner. For example, poor phrase reading is how can I do this today? While good phrase reading is, how can I do this today? Remembering this is a skill that is sharpened over time. Everyone starts at their own level of phrase reading. And be able to take the time and practice reading clumps of words in a smoother, more concise fashion will help you out in trying to comprehend. Marking and taking notes, both very similar. Simply marking your own copy of a text engages your brain in concentration and helps you identify the key points of what you're reading. Note taking is similarly a skill you develop, allowing you to gain a deeper understanding and reflect on what you have read. Note taking, if you make very concise notes, allows you to recall information again when you need it later on, thus improving your reading comprehension. And lastly, reading with others. Lastly, getting a group of people or even just one person who is also reading what you're reading can help with engagement, retention, and attention. With any subject you read, having someone to talk to about the text gives you a chance to explore the material and even quiz yourself on your knowledge. And lastly, I like what the article said at the very end. It said, finally, if you continue to find reading difficult, remember this. Reading at a university level is difficult. Now, that's a very important statement I like to add at the end of this presentation. Because, reading, especially at college level, university level, like they said, is difficult. It requires a lot of attention, paying attention, motivation, and discipline at the end of the day. And I want to improve that as anybody else would.